So how the mentorship, what are the things you think could be implemented so that we can help?
Okay. First of all, ISKCON should not lose important relationship guru-shikya. Don't make it formal, like ceremonial, formal, old age fashion things. Because mentorship here, I actually means guru shishya, because in each time you're going to guru alone, whatever, guru music, guru of fighting, guru of whatever, guru of blaming to devotees. So you need to go and learn how to be expert. And my what is message here or whatever, let us try to protect this system. We have opportunity, we have tradition of this mentorship from ancient times. And somehow to another we try to, mechanize this system, make it like mechanic. And if we lose this, so we probably go to another low kind of system. And no, somehow to another, but it's difficult. It's difficult. You give your heart to your students, like a Dronacharya. How many people you can personally do this? Or you of course can create system when you take your disciples take care of your another disciples, and your heart expanded. It's also possible. It's Prabhupada mentioned this, like students help to his teacher. But still, we must nourish this relationship. This is main things. And inside of this, if we have, this is like techniques. If we do this mechanical mentorship, this means like artificial, that doesn't work. It's another techniques. But we speak about this is ecosystem, this is relationship, this is from the ancient time. Like, this is main things.
Any question or comment, Pancharatna Prabhu?
In addition to the different approaches in terms of, there's also different needs, educational needs, and there are certain kinds of skills or knowledge that mentorship may not, especially when the mentor doesn't have those, like the world's changing and new things come up, and then you just have to go somewhere and learn about it.
Yeah.
So it seems that there's always going to be some sort of a mix of these approaches for a complete educational strategy.
Yeah. Yes, it's always in our life, it's always mixed, but also regarding the needs, it is important. Therefore, why only Brahmanas can teach others? No, why not Kshatriyas cannot teach others? Can teach others? Why only Brahmanas should teach others? Because when Brahmana teach, he don't disregard what is society like or what is society's needs, what society is doing, what they expect. They just see the person and grow him in full extent. They prepare mature person. They prepare whatever he is in full extent. And then king can say, okay, this is fruit for this is fruit, this ripened for fruit for this for this. But if king or manager start teach, they say, okay, I need such things and I need it faster. I don't need fully ripened fruit. I need something now. And then I say, okay, I see short way. I should how to develop person. So therefore it's two different. First, education means you see the person, you fully help him to grow. He becomes a complete person, spiritual, emotional, psychological, sociological, expert, daksha, whatever. And then society say, okay, we have such and such person, how we can apply him. That's all.
Thank you so much, Gaur Krishna Prabhu. From Russia, Gaur Krishna Prabhu is also an organization development committee member, and he's part of the management in Russia. Thank you for sharing your perspectives and philosophies of education. We heard from His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj on how we really need to think deeply on what education we must provide within ISKCON. Gaur Krishna Prabhu set a stage with respect to the various philosophies, how in different kingdoms education is provided, nourishment is provided. I'd like to invite our next speaker, Her Grace Gopi Geeta Mataji, who's coming all the way from United States. She's a devotee who's born in the movement, a second generation devotee. She currently is the vice principal at a school, TKG Academy, the school in Texas. And this happens to be the first Gurukul, as I understand, that Srila Prabhupada established. So thank you so much. And Mataji is going to share with us her perspectives on how do we train devotees from kindergarten to graduation and their needs. Thank you. Give me just 1 minute while I set up your presentation.
Hare Krishna, everybody. My humble obeisances to all of you. Vancha kalpa tirubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. And so because I'm a kindergarten teacher and have also taught very active boys, aged 8 and 9 and 12 and 13, I'm going to request you this morning to stand up and do a little quick song. So if everybody can please stand up. All right. The first thing we're going to do is raise our hands. Now I have to hold the microphone. So if we can, I'm only going to be able to raise one hand, but raise our hands in the air and please repeat after me. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurat Vishe Namaha. And now we're going to sing a little ditty that I learned in Gurukul myself. I'm a devotee of Krishna, as happy can be. Here is my tilak, and here are my neck beads. I chant Hare Krishna the whole day through. And if you're smart, you will too. All right, thank you. Please take a seat. I also request that you pull out your phones. Most people will ask you to put your phones away, but I'd like you to pull out your phones right now. And I need a show of hands of how many of you have in the past taught children aged 2 to age 18. Hari bol. All right. I'd like another show of hands of how many of you have a child or a grandchild in your home. All right. And a last show of hands if you know somebody very closely who has taught children or have grandchildren or children in their homes. So that should hopefully be everybody. So as you see, we're all in touch with this age. The title of the presentation is Kindergarten to Graduation. I'm going to be speaking to you precisely about children up until the age of 18. So I was coming here on the way to, let me see what I'm supposed to press here. Oh. We're having some technical difficulties here. And so I was driving here to Sri Mayapur Dham after not having been here for 6 years. And as I was driving on the roads, they're really, really chaotic. I'm sure all of you know who don't live in India. It's a very kind of a scary experience, the 4 hours drive. And coming from TKG Academy, we're very closely associated with His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Ki Jai, because he was the one who, after Srila Prabhupada established the school in Dallas, it was shut down, the boarding school part of it, and he reestablished it as a daycare. And I mean as a a day school facility in 1979. And since then, his disciples have been managing the school. We have students that are alumni students in their 30s and now also in their 40s. So what I will present to you are things I have learned in my service there at TKG Academy and in my childhood being trained by Mother Urmila. Is it ready to go? All right. So as I was driving, I remembered that over 2 decades ago, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami passed away on the very same roads. And it was a little bit of a sobering thought. And then recently I pulled up Dandavats and I saw an article about a Mataji in her 70s. I don't know if any of you heard this. She was brutally robbed in her home and strangled and just recently passed away. And her 40-year-old daughter is in serious condition in the hospital. And like this, every single year, every single few years, we get news of great devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness in their homes, but they are met with either death from timely circumstances like illness or untimely circumstances. And it makes you pause and wonder, if suddenly it was my time to go, or if I was hit with a disease that made it that I had only a few days or few months to live, would I be ready to go back to Krishna? How many of us feel that we can say with 100% certainty that we will travel straight to Goloka Vrindavan at the end of this death, at the end of this life? 100% certainty. Okay, there is one wonderful Mataji here. I love that. I'm going to take the dust of your lotus feet. And how many of us think perhaps 90% certainty we will travel back to Goloka Vrindavan at the end of our life? Okay. I thought I was the only one. Honestly, I was like, oh, we're in Mayapur Dham, that all Dhambasis, their hands are going to be up. If that's not going to happen, where will we be taking our birth next? Hopefully, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, in an ISKCON temple or ISKCON family with parents that are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead through Srila Prabhupada's mission. And that's what happened. So many children took birth in our homes. My husband's mother was a Prabhupada disciple, is a Prabhupada disciple, and she got in direct instruction from Srila Prabhupada in 1971 in a letter to please go to the Dallas Gurukul and serve. At that time, the Dallas Gurukul was filled with hundreds of children. And there were so many Gurukuls around the world that were filled with so many children. But now, if you look at my husband's friends and peers, a very, very small handful of them actually practice Krishna consciousness today. And this is the picture of my class. Oops. Where did it go? It's not here. 1991, it's a picture I was going to show you of 25 of my friends in my 1990-1991 school picture. Only 3 of them are actively practicing Krishna consciousness today. So, if you are not 100% sure that you're making it back to Godhead, that means that you are very, very sure that you're coming back. And you're going to be entering the home of a practicing devotee. And after you enter the home of a practicing devotee and you graduate, the percentages are very slim that you will be actively practicing Krishna consciousness after you graduate in ISKCON today. This is a very, very sobering feeling, and this is why I am here on behalf of all of my peers and all of the children and youth that are in our ISKCON homes and temples today to request us together to change this. And so, let's see if I can catch up to where I need to be. Okay, so we all know the very famous verses in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna asks Krishna. It's actually 3 verses that he's asking. And the words that he's using, you feel his anxiety, just as all of us may be feeling that anxiety right now. And in these verses, he says, what happens to the unsuccessful transcendentalist? Where does he go? And the last verse of these three questions is, Tuma vina ar, as we pray to Panchatattva in the morning, without you we have no shelter, we have no hope. Arjuna uses that same terminology. Without you, we have no way to know this. Please remove our doubt. What will happen to those who are practicing and cannot make it? And Krishna replies, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. So all of these children and youth that are in our homes today are Suchinam Srimatam. Basically, the two verses summarize two aristocratic transcendentalists. So if I can have everybody say that, please. Aristocratic transcendentalist. So when we think of an aristocratic transcendentalist, and Srila Prabhupada in the purport of that immediately remembers His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and thank you so much. Okay, so back up to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's image. It's not there. Anyways, you all know what he looks like. I had chosen. There we go, Jai. One of him with a really, really nice overcoat. He was at the front lines of the contemporary society. And we can go to the next one, Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada is standing in a line among businessmen, and the way his head is raised, his posture, extremely aristocratic. So when we look at our children, the little snot-nosed 2-year-olds that are running around, we need to think in our minds that Krishna has seen these children as aristocratic transcendentalists. In their previous life, one of them was a temple commander in Sweden Temple. Another one was a congregation member who was supporting the entire community with his hard work and donations. Another one of those children that I see running around in the temple was a book distributor with top scores that has now passed away. All, if not most, if not all of our children are devotees in their previous life. It's been 50 years since ISKCON's been established. And so, unfortunately, 88% of my class is gone. So how can we change this? I'm going to share with you the 5 R's that we have come up with that can change this entire dynamic so that when each of us takes birth again in a Vaishnava home, we feel confident that the educators sitting together in 2020 worked together to change this dynamic. The first one is real, unadulterated love. Please say that out loud. Love and only love. Bhakti means only love, and love is the negation of hate, cruelty, and negativity. And so next slide, please. We are going to make a firm conviction, a stand against any negativity, any negative energy towards our children, towards our students. No hitting, no yelling, no tantruming, no moralizing, no preaching down, no expecting the child to listen to you because you said so, and no using the scripture against your students in order to discipline them. And this no negativity, I'm again, because it's so important, going to ask you to stand up and place your hands above your head as if you're holding this board. You're holding a board, and on this board says no. All right, and reason I'm saying this is because if you go on Facebook today, is there any talk about all the education services that all of you are doing? No. The talk is of the hurt and the pain that has happened to my friends and to our children. And even now today, when I check with the youth in the communities, how was your experience? Did you have a good experience? Do you feel happy about Krishna consciousness? We as educators need to do this first and foremost. So that's the first R. And now we will go to the second R, which is reactivating flow. So flow is a state of full immersion, Bhakti yoga means complete and total immersion. Flow is an educational philosophy in a state where the child, next slide, is so absorbed that they don't really know what's going on around them. In order to get this to happen, you have to create active learning environments. You see Rajraj here in our Spiritual Friday program. He doesn't even know that the camera is there. And I remember when the devotee was taking the pictures, he was so absorbed in dressing Lord Chaitanya. We do this in our math, our science, our social studies, and all of our curriculum in Dallas. And the way we do this is by, we can move on, engaging all 5 senses in all of the activities. Rishikesha Savior, Bhaktir Uchyate. All 5 senses, their academics are their devotional service. And so an active learning environment is very important. Now we'll move on to number 3. We'll keep going to number 3. Number 3 is recognition. Now, as devotees, we don't expect pride and distinction, right? We're supposed to be humble, and we try and teach each other, teach our children to not be proud. So this isn't the recognition that creates pride. This is the recognition that Lord Nityananda had when he saw Jagai and Madai. He saw all of their negative qualities for sure, but he completely ignored it and went and saw that they were his dearmost friends and servants and recognized the little spark, bhavagrahi janardana. So this comes from the nurtured heart approach. It's called active recognition. And what it is an action that leads to a quality. So I noticed that you picked up all of the markers that your friend dropped. That shows me that you have responsibility. It's an action that leads to a quality, and we do these training programs and we offer these courses. If you want more information on how to do this, this makes your students, it blossoms your students into the spiritual soul qualities that you expect them to have. And here are some practices that we can have. I noticed you checking your schedule, helping, listening, keeping hands to yourself. You are hardworking, friendly, persistent. So instead of saying negative comments and giving them a negative label, which is what we tend to do as parents and educators, we are going to use our words to do the positive. And this works with adult students as well. As much as possible, action to quality. And it's not just praise. Praise increases ego. This is just a noticing. That particular action you did made this particular quality. Number 4, reasoning and inquiry. Now this you were talking about skills learning, and it's such a long topic, such a big topic. We have a tendency to shut our children down when they're asking us questions or when they're fighting up against us or debating what we want to say. But if you remember, aristocratic, transcendentalist, dhimatam, Krishna uses, full of wisdom. Do you think those children who are Sankirtan leaders and already initiated devotees are going to be 5 years old and just accepting what everybody says to them? Very intelligent children. When they're asking questions, take a deep breath and listen. Asking and reasoning is a sign of intelligence. Srila Prabhupada, when he first met his spiritual master, our founder Acharya, the very first thing he did was he challenged him, respectfully challenged him. What you're saying, how is it relevant? And so our children may do the same thing with us. It's part of their process. And so we'll move on. There are ways that we do reasoning and inquiry. The next slide, and all of these are long discussions and topics that we have incorporated: self-reflection, executive functioning, metacognition. And number 5, we will go to now, responsibility. So someone was talking about how their daughter or their friend's daughter doesn't even know how to, fold her sari. Responsibility means that by the age of 12 or 13, children are ready to completely take control of their surroundings and their emotions. And adults need to start stepping back and allowing them to. And so Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was running a store at age 12. And I was across the street in Mayapur, and there was a young man, he said he was 20, but I think he was about 14. He's also running a store. Children in this day and age are completely controlled by needing to sit in desks and follow industrial revolution type of system of education. They're not allowed to take control. They're thrown in cookie cutter type environments. And even in our temples, Srila Prabhupada made temple presidents of 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. And still, our children at 19 and 20 are going through the cookie cutter environment. So in Dallas, we try for different festivals to give the youth the responsibility, take it on, do it, make it happen. And there's a few more slides. Here in our high school program, so we have 4 students who have just now entered high school, and this was their second year for high school. We're hoping to increase the high school program with schools all across North America. We have a Spiritual Friday program where the kids do all of the sadhana bhakti processes. They dress and bathe the deities, they prepare the arti tray, learn all the details behind it, lead the kirtans, give the class, and translate that into the temple. And here is Gandiva. She's a 14-year-old young 9th grader. We decided last year that we were going to hand over the Spiritual Friday program to the kids who have been trained for 10 years in it. So each high schooler leads a whole team of younger students. We give the list of objectives, we work it out with them, and they train and they teach the students, and we're working on this in many more different environments. And so I don't know if all of you are familiar with, of course you are, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's well known for establishing the Sankirtan movement. But I love saying this, and I might say it every single time I talk about education. But did you know that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, before he established the Sankirtan movement, he was the principal of a school? God was the principal of a school. He started a school. And what did he teach? Grammar. He taught grammar. And grammar, language and linguistics, of course. And he tied it with the Lord's holy name and with Krishna consciousness so powerfully. He did that before he started the Sankirtan movement. So Sankirtan begins at home. I'm requesting all of you, if we're not going to do it for our existing kids today, we're all educators. Let us stand up and do it for ourselves when we are met with an untimely passing or when it is time for us to leave. Thank you so much. I am Gopi Gita Devi Dasi. If you have any interest in any more of these topics, please contact me. I am a humble servant of Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Please wait, Mataji, because we're going to take questions and comments. So we have another 8-9 minutes for question answers. Thank you so much. Any questions? Please don't distribute any pamphlets right now, Prabhu. We can do that when we have a break, or you should come a little bit earlier. Any questions or comments for Gopi Gita Mataji?
Thank you.
Here from Maharaj.
Thank you, Mataji, for your presentation. You know, I also had the opportunity to be in Dallas in the 1970s, and I knew some of the students there also, quite familiar. I helped sometimes looking after the children. I wanted to say to you that is it fair that we compare the children who were the Gurukul students then in the 1970s, many of these children, their parents sometimes not even devotees, and of course we're coming up, you know, we joined the movement in the 1970s, and we had children, devotees had children, put the children in school there. You know, how can we compare them to the lives of Bhaktisiddhanta, you know, that he's born in a Vaishnava family, you know, Father Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a very different cultural upbringing. So to compare them, you know, it's not, is it just? I don't think it's quite fair.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you so much. First of all, for your sacrifice in being there and watching over the children in Dallas, and also for correcting me. I accept that correction. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is a Siddha, you know, pure devotee, and he's not going to be the same as someone who's taking birth in my home, for sure. There is such a thing as a law of expectations, where we see our children to be and what they're supposed to be, the way we interact with them, every single day, every single encounter will create that being that we are visualizing. And so the reason why I give the example of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti and Srila Prabhupada is because he himself, Prabhupada, in that purport, to the second verse after Suchinam Srimatam Gehe gave the example. He said the children that are being born in the houses of transcendentalists are very rare. And then underneath it he says, my spiritual master was one such child. And then underneath that he says, my humble self is also one such child. In addition, Srila Prabhupada said that taking care of our children, child worship is more important than deity worship. And the last thing, of course, we know, we quote them, and I just throw it out there, these children are Vaikuntha children. If we see that this child can be a potential personality to be a servant just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur or a servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, our whole way of working with our children will change. I hope that's okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another question on this table, yes?
I'm trying to open a, hello. I'm trying to open a daycare center for age 3 to 5 in my village, where the children are 100% neglected and they are playing in the dust and all those things. They don't wear even good clothes. So the idea is that as the child learns his mother tongue, and he learns before age 5, and then once he has learned mother tongue, he will never forget throughout his age. So similarly, I wanted to give them Hare Krishna name to them in the age 3 to 5, and then I hope they will, at least out of 50,
Prabhu, do you have a question?
5 may go up like that. So what is your advice to bringing up?
So thank you so much for your intention to help children aged 3 to 5. And we can definitely talk in more detail. Quite a few things that you can do. Quickly, I'll just say 3 to 5 is the best age to involve them completely in Krishna's transcendental pastimes. I don't know what the standards here in India are for 3 to 5, but in America, they're not, you don't want to spend too much time on content. You want to spend time on Leela and heart and establishing that Krishna is my very best friend. So we can talk again personally about this. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take another question or comment. Here, in the front, please. Here.
So it's a full-time academy, education system, or it also involves homeschooling kind of concepts?
No, it's a full school, starting from preschool all the way to high school and moving on to dual enrollment. I have my 2 sons back there. One has graduated and is in his 3rd year of college at age 18, and the other one has entered college at age 14. And we have many students that have already done that process. We merge the state objectives with the Krishna conscious objectives, and all of our classes are taught with the Krishna conscious perspective and an active learning environment.
Any other questions? Pancharatna Prabhu.
We hear a lot about different systems of Montessori and Steiner, and I heard, I think it's called Palmer system in New Zealand. Do you find that's value in looking at these different approaches and trying to bring them together?
Absolutely. In this age of technology, at least in the Western world, there is such a need to go back to classic education. And these systems, Steiner and Montessori, they've done a lot of work at establishing actual curriculum in the classes. Their philosophy of education, Steiner's a little impersonalist, Montessori also leans to that. So at TKG Academy, what we have found is picking and choosing the things that work, that fit in with the philosophy of education that we've developed for Krishna conscious, for example, multi-level classrooms where the older students teach the younger students. A child staying with the same teacher to develop a personal relationship with that child for the duration of their young ages. A lot of little ways like that that we've found from these different educational philosophies. But because they have the curriculum and a lot of materials to produce an active learning environment, it's really been helpful to gain from their programs. Thank you, Panchar.
Gopi Gita Mataji, thank you so much for your talk on kindergarten to graduation. Besides her many services that Gopi Gita Mataji undertakes, she is also a regional representative for the Ministry of Education North America. And for both years, this and the previous year, we had the privilege that our regional representatives came and gave a talk. This year we have Gopi Gita Mataji. Last year we had Bali Madan Prabhu. Now, before we start the next session, just for some housekeeping, I wanted to request that if it's possible that some devotees sitting at the back, if they could join some of the tables in the front. There are a few here, because as you know, as the day progresses, some devotees come and they like to join at the back. So if there's space there, they won't have to disturb the rest of the decorum. So if some of the devotees could possibly come in the middle or join in the front, we would be grateful. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Also, in terms of the schedule, we are doing very well on the schedule so far. We will have a Gayatri break around noon, a little before noon. Now I'd like to call upon two devotees who are going to speak on a very, very important topic, a topic which is often not discussed, but it's Varnashram education. In the progression that we followed so far, we wanted to see, so if we are going to look at our children in the system that was just described by Gopi Gita Mataji, it is also important for us to look at the whole system as Srila Prabhupada wanted us to establish. So for that, I'm going to invite His Holiness Bhakti Arjava, Preeti Vardhan Maharaj, and His Grace Madhava Gauranga Prabhu. And although they don't need much introduction, everybody knows, but I must say they, for decades, have been running a Gurukul, an academy which takes care of Varnashram and its proceedings. So please Maharaj and Prabhu come and address the gathering. Ek aur mic.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Maharaj was supposed to start the talk, but I humbly interrupt. Just to acknowledge and thank our the previous speaker, Gopi Gita Mataji. I think she's still here. The emphasis, we talk about education, pedagogy, and all variety of technical terms. Even Mataji went through some small aspects. But as a second generation devotee in the movement, having gone through the educational system during our, I call it heydays, but we all know what that actually means. It would have been so nice to have some of those experiences where we are encouraged and feel motivated and inspired in the process of devotional service, because ultimately Mataji started with, what I thought in the beginning was a little interesting kind of presentation methodology, but it quickly caught me. At the end of the day, we're interested in going back to Godhead. And so we need to somehow or another have our children go through those experiences which, whatever skills and knowledge they may need or acquire throughout their lives, in school, university, in their jobs, in or out of ISKCON, is kind of irrelevant in a way. What is the most relevant is that they have those experiences whereby it'll tide them over till the end of their birth, which I never got. We didn't get a lot of that. And that's why the statistics are quite horrific. If you look at generationally, hopefully it's changed. Maybe it'd be interesting study by the Ministry of Education. Hopefully generationally it has changed. But certainly from my generation you can count out of 10 maybe 1 or 2 who through their own hard effort have maintained an interest in Krishna consciousness and have tried to stay part of Srila Prabhupada's society and then give back. So I wanted to acknowledge and thank Mataji for that. Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Before we start the presentation, so I would like to make a small correction. Actually, the title should be then Education in Varnashrama. Okay. So, Now, talking about education in Varnashrama, then we should define then the terms. What does education mean and what does Varnashrama mean? So, we see some very nice quote of Srila Prabhupada. It's from Ishopanishad. And then the aim of real education should be self-realization and the realization of the spiritual values of the soul. So now to come to that, then we have to train the children not to aim for the values so that they can develop into self-realized persons. So now, can you go next? Okay, oh, you have it. We see the 3 columns here. Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojana, and other aspects which are of the same character. So every activity has 3 aspects or 3 stages. Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojana. Then we know Srila Prabhupada uses a lot. Sambandha, meaning that developing relationships. Abhidheya is the process in which we use the relationship to achieve the goal, which is Prayojana. So ultimately, we practice it in devotional service. But the same can be applied in anything and also in education. So from the Upanishads, then we see Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. Shravanam means acquiring knowledge. And that can be any way, from the teacher, from the peers, from the book, from the internet. But it's acquiring knowledge. But what do you do with the knowledge? If it's not realized, it's not very useful. So therefore, then Mananam comes, which is the process of Abhidheya, applying it. Now, contemplating, actually deliberating how to apply the knowledge. And then with the proper application, coming to the right conclusions and applying it and realizing, Nididhyasanam. So in the modern terms, then we can see that the Shravanam is like a knowledge or the concept or information. The Abhidheya or the Mananam, then there's the skill, the procedure or practices. And the goal, which is the realization, the Nididhyasana, then these are actually the values, the attitude, and the behavior of the student which we want to develop. So now we want to, in this short presentation, show how the Varnashrama plays a role now in all 3, and specifically then the Prayojana. So then at least we have some ideas then the concept of what the Prayojana actually is. Now, okay, we have the values. Where do we get the values? What are the values? Then we see Narada Muni speaks about in Bhagavatam. What are the real values? What are the real qualities the human being should develop? Go to the next. Okay. So then these are the concept, getting the Shravanam. Go next. That will be the apprenticeship. That's how to get the skills. And the Prayojana is then the spiritual understanding. To come to that, then next. Then we have the 30 qualities of the human being, or 30 values of human beings. And this is what leads then to the proper realization. Now to come to that, we cannot omit the Sambandha and the Abhidheya. So maybe...
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Maharaj. I'll tell you a little funny story that recently just happened to me. I've been involved in the Bhaktivedanta Academy now as a teacher, as a principal, now dean for the last 12 or 13 years. And before that, I went through the Gurukul system from age 4 up to 15, then high school in Australia, university, etc., etc. So I always find it very hilarious or very funny, the myths that we propagate, myths and then counter myths. So I was in a conversation with some friends recently, and you know, reasonable devotees, intelligent, and they said to me, "Do you teach maths and English in the Gurukul?" And at first I was actually really shocked by that question. Obviously, like, how can you not teach maths and English in a Gurukul? But then I couldn't help but laugh, which brings me to the point here. We talk about, on one side, on the right wing side, let's put it like that, in ISKCON maybe, we say value education, tradition, varnashram, and all of those kind of words. And on the other side, we talk about liberality and experience and things like that. But the reality is Srila Prabhupada was trying to get us to apply a broad-minded system of education. And all that really means is, where's the focus? What is the primary aspect of the educational process and system, and then what are the supporting elements? As I just explained, you cannot have an educational system, whichever side of the spectrum you fall, without values, or without the cultivation and development of skills and knowledge. But in the Vedic system and the Gurukul system, then the focus is the quality. The method or the framework for developing those qualities is obviously through the transmission of skills, the development of knowledge and the transmission of skills. And Prabhuji before was pointing out some of the aspects like mentorship and things like that, which are all part of the complete experience. So it's not that when you talk about qualities and we have these, you know, amazing 30 values, which, you know, personally I would love to have a bit of any of them, what to speak of all 30 of them. And then we have to understand, though, the framework for that is the maths and the English. It's not a separate thing. It's a holistic approach to looking at an individual person and how we can help that person reform themselves karmically, spiritually, and to develop skills and knowledge that they can use in that process, which is varnashram, which is what we call varnashram, in that process for their success in life, spiritually, materially, and whatever the buzzwords are of the day. Thank you. Maharaj?
Okay, thank you. Now, in the beginning, if 5 basic levels, I don't care for anybody else. Pranamaya, me, food, and I can tolerate others if they don't bother me. Then Manamaya means platform of justice. That's eye for eye, tooth for tooth. That's that kind of justice. And we have Vijnanamaya, which is the process of through which the living being then tries to elevate himself to the topmost level, Anandamaya. So the Vijnanamaya is the process of the purification, process of Vaidisarana Bhakti. And Anandamaya then will be the topmost Krishna consciousness. So then the Daivi-Varnashrama system, it's aimed for that, applying these qualities with Daivi-Varnashrama, with the Vaidisarana Bhakti, then we can come to the platform of Anandamaya. He talks in Bhagavad Gita, in the 16th chapter, then he mentions, if you want to have your child to develop the divine qualities, you have to perform these 10 principles of human being. The 10 principles, he talks about the Dashavida Samskara. Those are these, beginning with Garbhadhanam. And why the samskaras now are so important? We cannot go too much in details, but at least in principle-wise, Many talk how samskaras are just rituals. No, they are Vichant Hare Krishna, no need samskaras. But look at from other point of view. These samskaras, they are investment for the child. First of all, Garbhana samskara. The samskara, it's a ritual, but the ritual, if it's done properly, then the result of the ritual is a change of consciousness. And then only we can say that the samskara worked. So the Garbhana samskara, at the time of the conception of the husband and wife, then whatever is the combined consciousness, that jiva will get attracted into the womb. And so if we are prepared for it, then the qualities of the child will automatically be much greater. Not necessarily, we cannot guarantee it's perfect. Anga Maharaj, he was a great devotee, but he could not affect his wife's qualities, and therefore it didn't work out so well for him. But if we do everything properly, then we give, it's an investment of the possibilities, abilities of the child, for the child. So that the Garbhana, and then the rest of the samskaras are about how to protect the child in the womb, outside the womb, how to protect the mother from disease, from other conditions, and how to give qualities to the child so then he can develop these 30 qualities Narada Muni talks. So now this is very important to establish, and now we will show you, we have some data. Go to the next. Data from big data. So this is from generations, over few generations, how certain attributes were developing. And so we focused on to show you, just like in a nutshell, how the children are changing and why they are changing. Now, previously we had seen, or we hear about, the teenage is like a adolescent. It's just a pre-adolescent or pre-adult time. So then the teenagers were more matured. They were more okay. they were more matured. Okay. Nowadays, teenage is talked about more like an extended childhood. But well, yes. So we see, the graph. It shows in the year 76, around 85, almost 90% of young people, 12 graders, had driving license. Now it's to 55. They don't mind being taken by their own parents. No, it's the inconfidence. Okay, go next. Here in this graph, then we see the reading books and magazines. It was 60% that were reading daily. Now it's down to less than 10. Okay, go next. Then here, this is socialization. How much with the friends they get together, face to face. Before it was over half. Now it's basically to around 25. So it's 50% down. Next. This shows activities. In gray, these are activities which are not on the screen. Black, the activities which are on the screen. And it was found that any activity, or these activities specifically, then they decrease unhappiness. But the screen activities, they increase unhappiness. So it's And these are, yeah. This is a chart of spirituality. You see, we said declining 75% to now 35, 40% in just few years. And religiosity. Okay, next. And this is when mothers, the first pregnancy and marriage. Previously it was around the 28 year average. Now it's like 27 years average when they get married and have first child. All right. Now the video.
Just very briefly, our leader is very precise with the timings. Thank you for that. To summarize the aspect that Maharaj was talking about, the samskaras, and connecting with our previous speakers and Gita Gopi Mataji as well, it's basically the bottom line is what kind of experience the child, the parents, and then the child are going through. So if we endeavor the framework we have been given by the acharyas and by the social and religious context that we have, if the experience is uplifting and positive, then the result will be good. That's the simple summary of that. Just we have a very small video, if you bear with us. This is, I'll introduce you. This is Kripa Siddha, one of our students, who's in his final year. He'll be moving into his internship shortly. He'll introduce the video. Very quickly, Kripa, please.
Hare Krishna. We made this video about a year ago. It was for a YouTube channel, just like many other videos, and it actually became very successful over time because just people liked it very much. And what was the most amazing thing about it? It was completely unscripted. We got 4 small boys. We had them to sit down. We told them whatever answer comes to your head, just answer naturally as you like. So this is how the boys are actually thinking, their personal feeling about all these aspects.
Yes.
I am Balamukunda. I am 6 years old. I am from Russia. My name is Haitosh. I'm 7 years old. I'm from Lithuania. My name is Purushottam Das. My age is 6 years old. I'm from China. No, Mayapur and China. I am Vamana. I'm 7 years old. I'm from Germany. I like the most, not of eating, I like the most chanting japa, because then you can go back to Godhead. I like to eat little bit, not too much, sleep little bit, not too much, and play little bit, not too much, and do whatever service I need to, and chant a lot of japa and drink a lot of water. I like the most in Gurukul chanting japa.
Why?
Because like that you could please Krishna. I like the most in Gurukul chant japa. I like in the Gurukul most that kind of, I forgot. Sabji? No, if one bread like this and there is sabji under and another gram. Burgers. like the class in Gurukul is archery class. I like the class which Samba Mishai is making like houses, a big star, and in the evening Samba Mishai class in the free days. That kind of. Because they giving you intelligence and they are learning you. They teaching you. Because they make you Krishna consciousness. Make you aware of everything so you don't break stuff, do bad stuff. I like the most festival the Dasmastami. Is Krishna when he born. My favorite festival is Janmashtami and Radhashtami. My favorite festival is Yatha Yatra and Gopashtami means cow's birthday. Gopal. I like Jagannath taking bath. Snaniyatu. I want to preach to the people to change japa to Krishna consciousness. To preach the people a lot until you die and preach to chant and give out Bhagavatam books and that stuff and chant a lot when you're serving out the Bhagavatam books. You're waiting for the people to come to buy some stuff.
Haritosh, what do you want to do?
I want to preach to the people and chant a lot of japa.
Mama?
Cooker.
Cooker?
Like my father.
Okay.
I also want to cook for Radha Madhava and Panchatattva. I want to be same cooker like my father, mother. Not like my father. You cook gulab jamun, all the kind of salty and sweet for Radha Madhava and Narasimhadev and Panchatattva and Srila Prabhupada and Lord Garudadev. To that is called Mayapur temple.
Thank you. We have time for a few minutes. We have about 3 minutes for questions. If devotees have questions or comments. Questions. Atul Krishna Prabhu.
Maharaj, thank you for the enlivening presentation. My question is about the role or the function of sanskaras in the curriculum or in the education of the students. A lot of those things look like they're performed at home by the parents. So are you facilitating some sanskaras for students, or are you training the students to perform the sanskaras when they become householders, or both, or could you elaborate more?
Yeah. Well, yes, we do both. We train the students, we train the parents, how to perform them, but we encourage them, they do the samskaras. Most of them are done at home. Then in Gurukul, Then we continue with the samskaras from Upanayanam. That's what we give the students when they are ready for the higher education. And Samavata, which is the graduation ceremony. So those we perform in the Gurukul.
And we see also over the years by talking and doing that training, then even now in the last few years we've had parents enroll their kids who have started from Garbhadana after hearing and understanding about it. So it's a generational thing as well.
Another question? Yes, Krishnendu Prabhu here.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You spoke about how the teenage years has become an extension of childhood. And it was also...
Not me.
Well, in the presentation.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it was, the evidence is there. And it was also touched on by Gopi Gita previously. What's the solution to that problem?
The solution, well, first of all, then what's the root of the problem? And the root of the problem is that the children don't have as much as a quality personal association as they used to have. So because of nowadays the children as they are born, they start to live with the electronic gadgets, and that makes the dealings among themselves quite impersonal. So the solution will be to minimize on that, to actually means with more focus on the personal association, face to face.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj and Madhva Gauranga Prabhu, for sharing your thoughts with us today. And thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Please let's give a round of applause. Hare Krishna. So, on this theme of no more cookie cutter approach, on this theme of training, a serious need for training, the next talk that we have today is the urgent need for apprenticeship, an urgent need for apprenticeship. So, I'm going to invite two speakers to address that conversation with us today. Before that, I want to make some housekeeping announcements. One is, we are not a rich ministry. We are a poor ministry. We are trying our best. We're trying our best in order to make some arrangement for all of you today. And out of that, we have spent, I think, a couple of thousand rupees just to print these tags to avoid an impersonal approach, so that the educators here who are present can get to know each other. Most of you know each other. If you don't, then these tags will help us identify. The additional functions that these tags serve is they allow us to identify devotees who've registered with us and for whom we've catered prasadam. Right? So there's prasadam catered. After this, the next two sessions we're going to serve prasadam. So please, if you have not picked up your tags, Narsingatitha Prabhu, where are the tags, the name tags? Okay, they're at the back. Please pick up only your tag, because otherwise there onwards you'll be identified by that name in the world of education forever. So please pick up only your tag. There are no name duplications, I'm sure. And please put them around your neck. They may be, they're not very heavy, but they will serve a purpose and also help us. We are catering for 100 devotees for prasadam. So if you don't have a name tag, we would still like to serve you prasadam. So please do stay with us. I think we have about 100 devotees here, so we'll be able to serve you. So I would like to now invite one insertion at this point, which is we're conducting a very important project within the Ministry of Education. And I am looking for the devotee who's going to speak on that. Yes, here, Chetan Prabhu. So at the Ministry of Education, we are conducting an international education census. I'll request Chetan Prabhu to come and share with us the purpose. This is going to be a very short a very short 5 to 10 minutes discussion where he's going to share with you what we're trying to do. And thereafter, we're going to take a short break and we'll come back and hear from His Grace Kalakanta Prabhu, our Minister for Cow Protection, and Giriraj Sakha Prabhu on the topic of urgent need for apprenticeship. So Chetan Prabhu, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tapan Mishra Prabhu. Hare Krishna to all the devotees present here. My humble obeisances to all of you. So at the ISKCON Ministry of Education, we have undertaken a survey to understand the landscape within which we are operating. So we are a big organization, and basically if you look at it, we are globally operating, but there are local models within this global model, right? So we undertook this survey, and the intention was, we appreciate that we are global, we operate in multiple geographies, we operate in a multicultural setup, right? We also are having a big age band that we operate on. Then we as an organization are transitioning, we are growing continuously, and so we need to understand what our needs are. And so in terms of education, we have to benchmark, we have to develop, we have to share, and we have to integrate. So these are the 4 purposes with which we were thinking of how do we unfold our education system, how do we integrate, how do we share. So with that intention and to have a strategic planning, we came up with a survey, right? So Prana Prabhu, who is present here, he's also part of the team, Tapan Mishra Prabhu, and there's one devotee from South Africa, Smarahari Prabhu. So we have designed this survey, and if you look at this, the survey has 6 important components. So one is, so the survey has the first component is just to understand your demography, where you are from, what temple setup you belong to, your geography. Then basically your local scenario. So what your local temple is doing, what kind of educational programs are undertaken. Then your perspective on how global education is shaping up within the ISKCON world. So that's the third aspect of it. Fourth aspect is, what do you think that we need to prioritize in terms of education, right? Next is, what are your specific needs? And one of the specific needs that is emerging out from this survey is the emotional need to be able to understand our emotions, feelings, and kind of develop trainings along those lines. And then we have ashram specific trainings. So 4 ashrams we are talking about. So what are the individual ashram specific needs? And so some of the salient features are, as I've already told, it's like role and ashram based. We are also trying to gather what is the teacher strength we are having across the globe. So each temple, how many teachers are available? Do we have a child protection system in place? Do we have, what are our perceptions about the teaching standards that we have? So based on that, this survey is now, actually it was circulated through Google form. So we are going to circulate it again once the conference, the symposium is over. And we would request you to kind of spread the word so that it helps us gather a better landscape of what we're doing. A hard copy of this survey is placed on your tables. So if you please could spare some time and take the survey, it would be really helpful to us. Now, just to give you a flavor of where we have reached so far. So we have about 100 responses gathered from over 30 countries, right? And there's a blend of Mataji is responding and Prabhuji is responding. So we have that blend. Also, since it is role-based survey, so devotees who are offering services globally, devotees who are offering services in local congregation temples. So this is just a pie chart that shows that. And in terms of ashram also, we have kind of good breakup. So we would like to do this further and make sure that this survey reaches out to maximum educators and maximum leaders. So we would like to request you to kindly take up this survey and also help us spread the word. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chetan Prabhu. So, obviously, we printed a lot of paper, and we thought that some of you who may not have time later on, you could indulge us by filling it up on paper, and we will do the data entry. So, during this afternoon, you can interact with Chetan Prabhu if you need any help in filling up the census, but please do fill that up. Now, we'll take a break for about 15 minutes. I would request you to please be back in 15 minutes because we're going to start a session sharp at 12:20. So if you can be seated before the next speaker starts. We have managed to get some water. Sorry, apologies in the beginning, we couldn't, but we have water here. So please be back here in 15 minutes. That's 12:17. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
একটু ব্রেক টাইম হলো 10 মিনিট ঠান্ডা খাতে বলতে হবে কিভাবে যাচ্ছে এখন তো বালতি জঙ্গি বলো এই তো প্যান্ডেলে এই তো সি আছি হ্যাঁ সাতটা হ্যাঁ গানা প্রোগ্রাম হবে তাহলে ওটা কই কিছু বল না হলো ঠিক আছে আমি তো আমি না না আমি কাজে নিয়ে এসছি আমাকে জানো তোমার তুমি সামনে নেবো ঠিক আছে বুঝতে বলতে আমি যাই ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে দুটো মনে হয় একটা টাইম দিয়ে দেয় ডেটটা দেখি 4টা ঠিক আছে ও মনে হয় একটা হবে ডেটটা ঠিক আছে ও ঠিক আছে আমার হয়তো প্রোগ্রাম চলবে একটু এখনো কনফার্ম ভাবে দেওয়া হবে
Hare Krishna. So I'd like everybody to please settle down. Requesting everybody to settle down, please, because we're going to start the symposium, restart the symposium. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to call upon the stage His Grace Kalakanta Prabhu and His Grace Giriraj Sakha Prabhu to come and address on the urgent need apprenticeship. Kalakanta Prabhu. So your mics, just for information, all the speakers, your mics are here along with the slide changer. So you can always pick them up. And when you finish your presentation, you can kindly please put them back on the same table for the next speaker. Kalakanta Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamide Namaste Kripadataya Bhyavidanga Saritaya Premasindu Vadati Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindu Bhivacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. It is a pleasure indeed to be here with all of you. I can see so many exalted educators working in so many parts of the globe, coming together in Sri Mayapur, a very sacred land, which has been a hub and a traditional place for education. So I congratulate the Education Ministry for such an effort. It's not easy. We have run ourselves 15 continental conferences by now, and it's a major endeavor to get everybody here. So thank you all so much for that. I'd like to start with this topic because I feel I've traveled all our farms by now, or most of them, and it's very obvious that there is an urgent need for apprenticeship. We really are lacking that space. And I'll try to show in 4 slides what I believe could be some opportunity for us as an institution, as a society. Very good. Okay, so let's go. The Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture understood that the way forward is not just having one Goshala here, one Goshala there. How much can you reach and what can you do? Today, to this moment, every hour, 34,000 cows are slaughtered. All our efforts in ISKCON from day one, from our first cow, Kalia, to today, where we have around 5,000 cows in our ISKCON project, it's not enough for 10 minutes of the world slaughter every hour. So how much would we reach out in just expanding our Goshalas? So it is very clear that as a ministry, the next step would be to connect to education. So what is more natural than to link to an existing Ministry of Education? So this is a collaborative effort which we are working towards. And our point today is this, a little enigmatic point. But basically, every society, and we know that, we just had a Varnashram presentation, there's a smaller number of members at the top, which are the thinkers, the intellectuals, people who are actually guiding society. Prabhupada talks about the head of society. There's a smaller number of governors, which rules, and very independent leaders. And then you have a slightly bigger proportion of entrepreneurs who are very active. And finally, there's a great mass of people who love to help. They can assist very nicely, and it's not easy to assist, because today everybody wants to be the boss. So once you start a group of volunteers, soon you have 10 bosses telling you what to do. So actually, to have a class of people who are satisfied to assist is a big task, because mostly they're seen as people who are lower, and that's not the case. Without the legs, what can you do? So my point today is a short point, is that in ISKCON, we are more like this, where we are a Brahminical society, and Everybody who does not follow that is out. Isn't it? 4 principles, 16 rounds, shaved heads. Now we have a discussion, should we adopt or not, and the big discussion is going around. But mainly, if you don't follow the main system which we have, you're not part of this community. Now, here is where the problem arises. Because as a head, not many of us are ready to take simple tasks, like farming. In India, if you go and if you make a quick survey around yourselves, you see who are the members of India who are ready to go to a farm today. It's less prestigious. Simply that. So, this point was brought to my attention by Ajita Prabhu in Australia when he tried to put this pyramid in place. And he brought the point that in the beginning, Srila Prabhupada, he was actually living among people who were very, very different from him. The Second Avenue is full of people who are with long hairs, smoking heroin or taking heroin or LSD, whatever you call it. But they're living among Prabhupada. And that way of dealing with them allowed for them to purify. So that's my point today, that we are missing out on a big portion of the society because we don't have any program for them. Yes, I will come this side. Sorry for moving.
We're recording you.
Yes, I know. It's my nature to, Vata nature. It's always going around. So I apologize for that. I'll try to fix and be more earth grounded. Prabhupada was doing that. He was actually living among hippies. And he was okay with that. And gradually they purified themselves until they found something meaningful to do. Now when someone approaches you and us, what can they do apart from chanting, going to the Bhagavad Gita class, taking prasadam? Not much. Now, if you see what was done in Australia, all these people who are environmentalists, youth, very free-spirited people, they're very intelligent, dynamic. He created a space called the Krishna Village, and that's an apprenticeship space. They learn how to be trained in yoga, how to be in the gardens, how to be with the cows, how to be so many different services. Therefore, without having the pressure of becoming a Hare Krishna, they experienced apprenticeship. Now, this is a small experiment in Australia. The point I want to bring here is that Prabhupada had in mind something very specific. He says, when he talks about our farm community, he says, okay, I'm going to read this, bear with me. So, our program is to live there, depending on agriculture and cow, which is the connection to the next presenter. He's going to present something along that line. Cow protection, agriculture, that should be the economic solution, and peacefully be in Krishna consciousness. Chant Hare Krishna, that is the Vrindavan scheme. Yuktahara Viharasya Yoga Bhagavati Siddhidaha. The human form of life is not meant for increasing artificial needs. We should be satisfied just to maintain the body and soul together. And balanced time we should save for enhancing our Krishna consciousness, our spiritual consciousness, so that after this body we haven't got to take another material body. But we go back home, back to Godhead. That should be the motto of human life. Some of you may think, all right, Prabhu, this is very nice, it's for the farmers, but society today is very different. We are in an urban scenario, we have a whole different scenario. But Prabhupada is pointing out that the motto is going back to Godhead, and the farm is an ideal environment for that apprenticeship. So just you imagine if all of a sudden in all the farms someone is expert in beekeeping, someone is expert in ox training, someone is expert in eco house building, all of these can become educational activities. A person now can hold a practical training, and that practical training actually is advertised on the global forum. So as a simple concept, like the woofers go from farm to farm, All our projects could be training centers. What is the benefit of such a project? Well, the Amish people took this approach. We presented this last year. As a result, all the families have an... And I won't go into the modern education because many of you will tell about the inefficiencies and everything like that. My simple point is, if you start to show this, so many people will be interested to come to these places. And automatically, you have a whole educational curriculum across the globe. As a concept, as a practical evolution of this concept, New Vrajadam in Hungary, many of you may know, was here recently, and they were making a survey. Which practical course would be favored among people? So they had actually 10 courses: beekeeping, agroforestry, ox training, and so and so. And people were saying, I'd like to come to this course. What a brilliant start. What a brilliant start. This year, in collaboration with the Education Ministry, we have started a foundational course on cow protection and agriculture. And that foundational course is to be taught across the institution, where we'll explain what is the importance of that, why Prabhupada wanted that, what is the future for our children into that, what are the job opportunities that this can afford, and what economical model this can lead to. Because without an economical model, where do you fund everyone? So this course has, the foundational course is being organized, written by His Holiness Krishna Kshetra Swami. We've just asked Banu Swami to give us a contribution. Achyuta Priya Prabhu from Ukraine is part of that course. I am there. And then we have modules. The first module there is called Goshala Manager's Course. And in that course, we have a very good businessman from Australia called Damodar, the former temple president in the Bhaktivedanta Manor. He's helping us. And Padmalochan Prabhu from Singapore about skills, training skills, managerial skills. And finally, for a Goshala Manager's Course, what are the Goshala skills involved? So we got Shamasundra Prabhu from the UK. We got people from New Vrajadam. We got people from... other people from the UK, about 6 people writing what it takes for that. Now, once that course is ready, Los Angeles, you know, Suvas Prabhu is one of the most traditional managers, you know, very serious, he has a line of, who knows Suvas, you know what I'm talking about. He came to me and said, Prabhu, I'm ready to put a farm if you give me one manager. If you give me a Dhruva, I have the money. So he's not alone. Soho Temple, the same thing. We want to put up a farm. Give me a manager. So we understood there's a big need for a Goshala manager to be there. We are working on it. Module 2 could be agroforestry. We have here in this room Samba Prabhu, who is an expert in eco building, and so and so and so. So I would like to conclude by saying that there's a great need to generate economy, and apprenticeship courses are fantastic and necessary. And the other slides are basically to support, but we don't need them. I'd like just to introduce the next speaker. He's running a project, and he'd like to speak about how he's engaging perhaps agriculture and cows, the cow culture, with the Gurukul. Am I right? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. So, in continuation to His Grace Karakant Prabhuji, the urgent need of apprenticeship was noticed. Now, if we pre-plan it, it will be better. So, we can plan the same urgency with our Gurukul children. So, this is what one portion that we can consider these things to include the movement of cows and farm management. Now cow grazing, we have seen one stall also outside. So cow protection and agriculture is the backbone. This is to be understood, and this is actually already understood, is to be implemented. So this survey was done by third party, and it was already founded that lack of employment and inadequate educational alternatives were is noticed. That was a third party, and there is a simple solution for it. Prabhupada has given the solution that cow protection in agriculture. This slide is that only cow protection in agriculture. Many times Prabhupada has told this. Also Chanakya told that the real gems are the grain, water and the subhashan. The grain and water makes actually the cow protection and the agriculture. So we are looking for these things only. So they are very easily available. And so what exactly we are looking for the ISKCON's children, ISKCON devotees children. So what we should not and what to teach and when to teach the secondary. So Prabhupada also told that we are not competitive farming and all. He is always keeping us focused to the form. That is also the sixth, our purpose of the seven purposes, and it's accumulating in an integrating way. So, and ultimately we want our children to be happy. So happiness is given by Prabhupada that our happiness depends on the animal's happiness. This is very strange formula he has given, because we are in 84 lakhs units, we are the top ones, and we are the elder brother, so we have to take care of the younger brothers. And there are many 20 lakhs of Padaps, then 9 lakhs in Jalaj and 11 lakhs Rudra Sankhyana. All those things we have to take care, they are in the land also. And who are actually our children? Prabhupada tells helpless creatures are our children. In this quote, Prabhupada has not mentioned cow, but he has mentioned flies, he has mentioned deer, camel, asses and also he is telling us that we should be very much merciful to these people, these species. So what to talk about the, so also in the Yajna Chakra, Krishna says about that our Karma Yoga begins with by Yajna we get rain and Anna. So this is also coming to the cow and land only actually. And this ignorance can be, everything in our Varnashram system is the food is food will be provided by the Grahasth Vaishya. And it will be again by the cow production and the agriculture, farming. So where we go from this first equation, if we understand that our ISKCON's growth and development, internal and full this thing is coming to the cow protection and the farming. Second equation which I would like to consider again, that cow protection farming means movement or grazing of the cows. This is, Prabhupada has written this, that for human happiness, same quote I am putting, but I am extending it. One must take care for the animals, especially the cows, for the proper pursuit of human happiness. There must be arrangement for the protection of cows. Then, this means that there must be forests and adequate pasturing ground full of grass and water. Then he is continuing that this is the way of happiness. So agriculture land is there, but there, when he tells about the pasturing ground full of grass and water, it means cow grazing. So generally we consider sometimes very religious sentiment, but Prabhupada said it's not religious sentiment. We are also coming to know in the modern world many researchers are coming. One Alan Savory, we are aware of him, and many other his co-scientists also there. This desertification now, we consider that from this rural culture and the village culture and the city culture. But actually both culture are the part of one same industry culture. We are aware of the global warming. It is the result of the city culture, industrial and all. But desertification is actually village culture, where land is, we are making the land barren. The solution for global warming is to plant the tree. But where will we plant the tree when we are making all the lands barren? And strangely enough, the solution for re-fertilizing this barren land is by cow grazing. And also in Vidurniti, it's a gram kamam cha gopalam. If 6 people are to be rejected, if any person who is, if a gopal is not taking his cow to the forest, he should be rejected. The cowherd boy, he should take the cow. So we have to come out of that culture of keeping cow in one place and utilizing them. So whenever we talk of Vrindavan, it coming for us like this is cow movement. Braj also is movement. Prabhupada tells the true education and false education. He is telling that as soon as Krishna and Balram were a little grown up, they were meant for taking care of the cows. Although born of a very well-to-do family, they still had to take care of the cows. This was the system of education. So that is what he is telling you. The boy should take the cow and they should bring the cow back in the evening. That should be a part. So as Prabhuji told that this is urgent need for creating many skill-based things. So we can develop same things from the beginning only. So when we plan before, it is the time for us we can plan. So when we plan, we can develop everything. So this father, mother, these three kinds of Dev, Dij, Guru, Pragya, Guru, they are teaching. So father's aim is to, Guru is, Adhyatmic Guru is for the Vigyanmay Kosh and for other things. But for father role has a big role. Parents should teach all these things. So if we do the planned education, we can come to a very comfortable zone, and that is what planned apprenticeship is there. We have a humble attempt. We have just begun in our one of the project in Ahmedabad. So there we are trying to put it that our students have a routine like Mangla to Shayan, we are imparting them, and then 1 hour they are the boys are doing the cow protection, means cow grazing. They are going with the calves and all. We are at 200 cows and some 25 this calves and all. So little boys are taking care of the calves, and also they are going to the farm also where their parents are working, and they are coming with them while bringing those also. So they are learning from their parents how they are doing. So that is the way they are growing up. So who decides this all? We know everything decided by the parents only, because first 15 years are controlled by the parents. We call it anyway, whichever way we call it, they have to take this call. And who will teach? Prabhupada tells Krishna is the farm acharya, Baldev is holding the plow. We have the teacher, first 5 years mother, as we know, next 10 years father, and followed by guru for the rest of the life. This is the way. Practical example shown by Krishna only, and we all are having this thing. So Golo, Gokul, Govind, all names are for that only. So Srila Prabhupada's mission was to create, when he left the Vrindavan, his mission was to create new Vrindavans everywhere. So new Vrindavan means this is how we can create everywhere new Vrindavans. This is God's gifted profession. It's a dream place. Prabhupada told, this is my dream place where I will get all these things. So this is what our presentation. So this is what I want to submit, that we can focus on cow protection, agriculture, and especially cow grazing. Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Giriraj Sekar Prabhu. I'd like you to please stay on the dais, and also Kalakanta Prabhu, could you please join him? We are ready to take some questions for a few minutes, questions or comments from the gathering here. Okay, first a mic needs to go here to Devaki Mataji.
Prabhuji, should be alert to give him a mic.
Hare Krishna, thank you for the presentation. I just want to add a comment, because I grew up in the village in South Germany, and I remember everybody was producing something in the village. There's actually no sense to village life if people don't know how to produce something. So every second house was a farmhouse with cows and land, and every other house produced something. Carpenters, this, that, whatever, all these crafts, you know. So I also have this realization in my travels and preaching, unless we go back to this and learn actually how to produce something, we will never get there to village life. And these days one can so easily establish a business over internet. So if people just go back and learn woodworks, how to make altars, Vyasa sons, they can easily sell this through internet. or all these other crafts, stone cutting and whatever there may be. So yeah, that I wanted to share.
I'll
Thank you
comment
very
something.
much.
I'll make a small comment just on what you said. Actually, when I was in Russia recently, there is one specific spiritual master. He's preaching very nicely about that, and his disciples are coming with such nice products. Wheat from traditional varieties and breads, and everything so beautiful that there's no scarcity of market. So once you have the product, the whole dynamic is, nobody's asking about donations, you're just enthusiastic to grow more and more. I think it's a beautiful comment. I think Prana Prabhu has a...
Hare Krishna. Kalakanta Prabhu, thank you both for your presentation. You mentioned that devotees from New Brajadam came here recently and conducted a survey for what would be the most, what are the needs of the devotees in terms of education. Is the course that you're developing, is that based on that survey, or is that survey?
No, the course has been actually the Goshala Manager course, which is basically the module 1. The real course is a foundational course on cow protection and agriculture. It's based on a big need that we don't know about that in our society. In Bhakti Shastri we don't teach, there's no question in the Bhakti Shastri test about cow protection. I just checked with the people who were there, and they said it's a good moment for us to include those questions, because a big question pool is being made right now. So this is the moment. If the farmers think, or the educators about natural living, this is the moment for us to give them. But no, it's not based on that. This questionnaire was spontaneous, and they want to do it. And we're so happy that it's already sprouting in so many places. In Gujarat, in New Vrajadam, in the UK, in London. They have a whole setup for teaching skills at the School of Bhakti that they're making.
Okay, so my point is then that it's really important that we start to develop courses in ISKCON in all the different ministries that will meet the needs of the devotees, and not just what we think are good courses and important courses, but that we make the courses relevant, and I'm sure you're doing that.
Yeah, we're conducting a survey.
And Prabhu, one quick question for Giriraj Prabhu. You mentioned about grains, water, and subhasham. What is subhasham? I missed that.
Subhashan means the Sanskrit verses which are Niti Vakya and Subhashita.
Subhashitams.
Yeah,
Okay.
Subhashita.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We can take one more question from the participants. Any other question? Any comment? Oh,
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
Prabhuji, I brought as a gift, if anyone didn't get it at the booth, this is a manual with all the topics, practical topics we have discussed in our 14 continental conferences. Bamboo work, ox training, soil testing, and it's a very nice directory of the courses. So if anybody would like, I have some here, I'll leave it with Prabhuji. And
You can actually leave it there.
I will.
And then on the way out, devotees can take it, or you can also leave them on the tables, Prabhu.
Okay.
If anybody's interested. And we'll also keep some.
Hare Krishna.
Kalakanta Prabhu, thank you so much. Giriraj Sakha Prabhu, thank you
Hare Krishna.
for
Thank you very
joining
much.
us and sharing with us the urgent need for apprenticeship. Giriraj Sakha Prabhu also happens to be a regional representative for Ministry of Education in India, and he is currently helping us in the Western India Divisional Council. Thank you, Giriraj Sakha Prabhu. Next, I'd like to call upon stage. Oh, you did the wrong shutter. Let's see, it's working. It's now, okay. Hare Krishna. I'd like to call upon the stage here, His Grace Leela Purushottam Prabhu. So, Leela Purushottam Prabhu, as you know, is a professor. He's not only a professor in ISKCON, but he's actually a professor in IIT Kanpur and a director at the Bhaktivedanta Gurukul International School, Vrindavan. And Prabhu is going to speak about the topic of consciousness-driven education. Thank you, Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Tapan Mishra Prabhu, and I'm really honored to be among all of you, exalted souls. We don't really get an opportunity to speak such an august audience, so I am really grateful, and particularly the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Can anybody figure out what is this? This is Alexa, okay, in everybody's home. Today, only yesterday, the topmost, management guy, Professor Dr. Gautam Shroff, he asked me whether this will be a reality, self-driving car. These are all probably those who are into healthcare, personalized healthcare. This is Sophia, the robot that can speak to you. It can sit with you and can make immediately a paint, your own painting. So this is a robot that has been built by Hanson Robotics. So question is that why I'm putting all this? Because children in general, and we are all getting habituated to all these appliances. And who is after this? The big buzzword is AI. I think 2 weeks back, Anuttam Prabhu, when he was discussing with me, he requested me if I can make a video presenting the AI in a perspective such that people don't think soul has become irrelevant, right? So what is consciousness? And if you see the title, I talked about consciousness-driven education. So what is consciousness? So all of you know much better than me. But as Gita, 2nd chapter, Krishna says, consciousness is that which is always existing, eternal, right? It cannot be destroyed, it is immutable, it is immovable, it is unburnt, it is uncut, and so on, so on. And we have not seen, really, we don't experience something that cannot be burnt, something that cannot be destroyed. Unless we have our own experience of our own divinity, probably we cannot say for sure this is true, right? So and it has no property, and of course consciousness is free from ignorance, always situated in knowledge and transcendental joy. It has no property that is observable in physical realm. So here possibly it is not a subject that we can talk much within physical domain, okay? So when I say conscious driven education, what does it mean? Because we deal with physical world, we live in the physical world, we belong to this place, right? So the question is, now can we build a conscious machine, right? How many of you say yes or no? Yes, raise your hand. Can we build a conscious machine? Only one. How many of you believe we can't build it? So majority. So now, here is the quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3.23.20. This is the context. Kardama Muni has built an aerial mansion for the pleasure of his own good wife, Devahuti. Here and there in that palace were multitudes of live swans and pigeons as well as artificial anything. Does this object has anything to do with consciousness? Actually, if you go to Bhagavad Sankhya, these are all part of consciousness. In fact, in this world, nothing beyond consciousness. Sarvam Kalvedam Brahmam. This is a Shastric statement. So what is this? This is somebody's consciousness has been projected to give a shape this. In fact, matter is invisible. Matter doesn't have form. Abhyakta. What is Bhyakta is actually spirit. Spirit has a form. So now if you look at here, this is Sophia. I think in October we organized a conference in Delhi in Le Meridian. Hanson Robotics, who has built this, brought this, less propaganda about our conference and more propaganda about this robot. So what about this? What is the difference between this and this? This again, so we say projected consciousness, but this is passive. This is also projected consciousness, but active. Okay, so it looks like as if it has, she has her own mind and blah 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 blah. And what about here? This is what you and me, right? We are conditioned conscious being. We can have both the mundane experience as well as divine experience. So based on that, I can feel sometime part of this world or part of this world. So that's why tatastha, right? And this is where pure consciousness. In a pure conscious level, in 4th canto, 29th chapter, I think 69th verse, where in fact this is a instruction to prachetas, where it is being told that a person who is perfect in Krishna consciousness can see past, present and future, right? And of course finally absolute consciousness. So basically we are dealing always with consciousness, right? You know that in our traditional Indian culture, we are not supposed to give salt in loan to another house. And the reason is salt has the ability to carry my consciousness to another's house. So normally people don't take. If I have a lot of debt, most likely if somebody takes salt from my house to another house, that person will enter into debt. So this kind of notion were already there in our culture, but I will not tell about that much. But I'll just give you a little idea about why. Because everybody is talking AI. The funds are only for AI. Educational institutions are going to be transformed because of AI. Indian government now has started the program where AI, artificial intelligence, must be taught from the standard 8 onwards, right? Now I'll give you an example of what is AI. This is my lab. This is a setup. Can you play that? So you see this is a robot. This robot has been empowered by AI algorithm, and this has been given a list of some items, right? For example, in this case 10 items, and it has to, using a camera, it has to figure out where that item within this rack in a specific box. When he finds out, it picks it and puts in the delivery package there. When we were small kids, my mother would give a list. We used to go to the grocery shop, hand over the list, and he used to give the items and we used to bring. The same thing exactly being done by the robot here. How many of you think if this robot looks like a human being, this is non-different from human being? Or it is different from human being? So many would say, but I think that you have a reason. But I gave this talk in a teachers principal conference in Dehradun, where CBSE director was sitting there, and he said there is no difference. And I have to actually tell him why there is a difference. And most of us actually do not really understand why there is a difference. There is a difference. And this, within our scientific community, we said this is part of weak AI. Weak AI. But what is strong AI? Strong AI, machine with artificial consciousness. Okay? We have not built it. Now, this is, I will not go in detail because this is blah, 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 blah. Because to do that, what we did, my students, they have to solve all these problems, technical problems they have to solve themselves, and this is too hard program. And just to explain to you how this works, just a small level, I'll tell you this is a simple architecture, looks like very crazy, and that is what has to be conceived by a researcher, like my PhD student called Indraj from Indonesia. And what he did, he found some mathematical expression called energy associated with the system, and he had to make the change of that energy to be negative. He came up with some mathematical expression and came to my office and saying, oh, I don't understand how to go further. I sat with him with a pen and pencil and paper, and within probably half an hour, I came up with these two crazy like equations, right? And I told him that you please go, place this expression here, place this expression here, and show me the rate of change of energy is negative definite. He came back after half an hour, said it works. And then can you play on this? And after that, he had programmed these equations, he had programmed into this robot onboard computer. And then you see that what his robot is doing. Robot is following a ping ball while maintaining a distance between a ping ball and the end effector, and looks very wonderful. And we have done many robot playing tennis and everything we can do. But what you are seeing here, imagine Sachin Tendulkar, the cricket icon in India. He doesn't understand ABC of this mathematics. He knows how to hit the ball for 4 at 6. Or Diego Maradona, he knows how to trap a ball and score a goal without knowing ABC of this mathematics. How does he do? So this is the difference between what we do in scientific community. This is called reductionist mathematical computation. That means we think something and that our thinking has to be reduced in terms of mathematics and then bring into the machine. Whereas we do computation, that is conscious computation, much higher than the higher level computation than the computation that I am trying to show you. So particularly students nowadays, with the gadgets of AI coming, they are going to challenge us that why you are talking about consciousness. We have to challenge ourselves to find answer. I'll tell you because this is a very topic. In fact, I gave this topic because inspired by Anuttam Prabhu's challenge to me that so you see that what is consciousness? In Bhagavad Gita, there are two descriptions of consciousness. One is, which you always learned theoretically, probably most of us didn't understand it, or we understood a little bit. That which pervades the entire body is known to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy that imperishable soul. Obviously, when I talk about my own consciousness, here in bodily consciousness, everything is destroyable. Okay, my pain, pleasure, everything will be destroyed. At the time of death, everything is gone. So then what Krishna is saying that is indestructible, what is that consciousness? That is only true for those who are seers of truth, who constantly experiencing their own divinity. Okay, and for them only, they realize that is indestructible. So when you have perfected yourself, the divine consciousness that you experience throughout your body is indestructible. But what about here? In 2.70, Krishna is saying, a person who is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is ever being filled but is always still, can alone achieve peace, not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So, this is pattern. We are all subjected to pattern. More you associate, more patterns entered within us. This is not consciousness. This can be disturbed. And this is what a person who is in knowledge, who is situated in consciousness, qua consciousness as it is, he can only behave like this. Otherwise, we are all very ordinary mortal beings. Now in 13.6.7, Krishna says what is not part of consciousness. Okay, the 5 great elements, false ego, intelligence, unmanifested, the 10 senses, the mind, the 5 sense object, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate, the life symptoms and conviction, all these are considered in summary to be field of activities and its interaction. It has nothing to do with consciousness. So when I said, can we build a conscious machine? Yes, because using this, we can build a conscious machine. But this has nothing to do with the divine consciousness which is eternal. Right? But still we can do. So, people ask this chemical origin of life, right? So this is where our life cycle has begun, right? So I started from this first cell, okay, given by my father and mother. Now I am 120 trillion cells, okay? And so this, what has happened to me from single cell to 120 trillion cells, there is an evolution both in terms of hardware and software. And this is exactly a person called John von Neumann. He is a Hungarian professor. He wrote a book called Self Theory, the Theory of Self-Reproducing Automata. In 1940, 49-50, he conceived and he wrote the book. Somebody wrote his lectures in the form of a book, 1966, which became one of the 100 best books in the last century. Okay, so the question here is, we have not done any of this. We cannot make a molecule grow in terms of hardware and software. We have not done it. Point is, we must know what we have done. For example, in the next slide, living organism machine. You see, it experiences hunger, fear, sleep, sexual desires. No AI machine has all these properties. Machine, this living organism has a self-replication, right? From a plant to seed, seed to plant, self-replication in all living organisms. No self-replication here. Also creativity, no creativity there, right? You get a Nobel Prize for your creativity. A machine, can we make a machine that can get a Nobel Prize? So these are the questions, fundamental question. So an opportunity. So when AI has gone, there is a big buzz. People would try, smash us saying, where is the soul? We need to tell, yes, there is an opportunity. Have you heard about this statement? We describe the world because the world is indescribable. This is one anonymous philosopher has written. But this is exactly what in 11th canto Krishna talks to Uddhava, that the world cannot be described. I'll just explain to you. A cell is not understood. You know what is a cell? I'm 120 trillion cells. A single cell, if you take, you cannot see that cell in your naked eye. You need a microscope, right? And you get a microscope. Suppose there is a microscope of the power 10 to the power 8 and there is another microscope 10 to the power 12. So 10 to the power 8, you see one thing about the cell. When 10 to the power 12 magnifying power, you see something amazing. And exactly a year back, one person got Nobel Prize because he could have access to a very highly powerful microscope and he could see, the cell in an amazing way. Is there any end? Today I have 10 to the power 12 microscope magnifying power. Day after tomorrow I'll have 10 to the power 22. Then 90. There is no limit. So you can have more and more magnifying power, and with that power, the more you see the cell simply remains elusive. You can never understand what is a cell ultimately. Same thing will happen to atom or consciousness, cosmos, and forget about consciousness. So the biggest gain from the current overwhelming interest in AI is that consciousness has come to the forefront of discussion. I gave a talk on can we build a conscious machine in MIT in 2018, October, and the scientists there asking me, tell us about consciousness. They are not interested in computer programming. They are not interested in cellular automata. They are not interested in all the tools and technology that AI has brought in, right? So everybody wants to understand what is consciousness. And we should be very happy that we have got a job in our hand. Now you see the crisis. Many people talked about it. I will not go in detail about it. But you know that recently around 70 scientists on behalf of International Program on Climate Change, this is a body of United Nations, they have written an article and literally all newspaper focused on it. This article has come in Nature. Eat less meat, UN climate change report calls for change to human diet. In fact, there is, BBC reported saying the world will be destroyed unless you go vegetarian, right? And this is based on scientific study that how the animal slaughtering is actually destroying the ecology so violently that all the species will become extinct. So this is where I am from, Bhaktivedanta Gurukula. This is situated in 100 acres of land in Vrindavan, and when we took this land, because we wanted a bigger land, after we took the land, we figured out this land is alkaline, salty. We called for district agriculture official, we called for soil conservationist, and they said hopeless, you are being cheated. And some within ISKCON also in big management, they told a hopeless thing. And then I sent one of my staff to a camp done by Subhas Palekar, because we knew if Gomata is there, all soil can be transformed. In fact, when I was teaching Bhagavad Gita in IIM Indore, I had visited an organic farm, and there Mr. DK, he was holding a huge piece of soil and asked me, what is the weight of this? I saw it is a huge piece, so I suggested it may be at least 10 kilo. And then he handed over that, and I tightened my muscle to hold it, and suddenly I felt that this is only 200 to 300 gram. Then he told me that this piece of soil has around 10 to the power 15 microbes. They grow in cow dung, right? And they eat this mud, soil, make it porous and easy for, or is a plant friendly, right? So you see there is a, and my staff went, got trained, we trained for that, and now in the same land we are growing wheat that is necessary for our Gurukul, rice necessary for our Gurukul, all kind of vegetables. In fact, this time when I went, the broccolis are just getting destroyed, they are getting spoiled because so much we are growing. The what is that called, cauliflower, everything in abundance from a land that was absolutely alkaline. All glory to Gomata. Simply take the microbe from the cow dung and then give it what you say, it is a antiseptic medium called cow urine, and culture it for 72 hours. They grow, they multiply like anything in the medium of jaggery and chene powder, and then you get a wonderful friend. Okay, so can you finish this? Yeah. So I welcome all of you to come to our new campus, Vrindavan. I think because of lack of time, I will not be able to show everything about this land. You can stop now, go to the next one. Yeah. Okay. So, you say that we engage our students in organic farming, in designing water filter. You can see they use the waste management. They build mud brick, and they learn how to plaster the wall using the cow dung, and all these things. I will end this with I'll take 2 minutes, Tapan Mr. Prabhu. I just want to let you know that how we can really teach things the way students can appreciate. One thing is, suppose I have to teach infinity. Now Krishna is infinite, right? When I say infinity, it is inconceivable. How can you explain a student, a small kid? And in fact, I did an experiment, and I will tell you how did I teach my student what is infinity. Okay, this will be my last slide. There are many things to tell, but this is all right for. Okay, so give me 2 minutes, I will explain to you. You say, this is suppose I say 10 to the power 9999999. This is a finite quantity or infinite quantity? All of you understand this is a finite quantity, right? But do you understand what this number is? Anybody can conceive it? I'll try to make you conceive what is 10 to the power 18. It's small, very small. What is 10 to the power 18 and what is 10 to the power 999? It is inconceivable compared to this, right? So let us try to understand what is 10 to the power 18. In fact, many of our physics book written by very well acclaimed professors, they have given the story. This is an Indian story. You see, in earlier days in India, Brahmins would never get salary. They will never take salary. They will run gurukulas, they will do things that is benefit for the society, but they will go to the king, they will demonstrate their whatever they are doing, their intellectual capability, and king is satisfied, he will give some generous donation. This used to be the modus operandi in earlier days, right? So one Brahmin went, he was running a gurukul, he wanted some funds. Here is the king. King was busy. He said, sir, I want to sow something. He said, king said, I have no time, I am so busy. Tell me whatever you want, I will give you. I have heard about you. So he opened, surprisingly, a chessboard and said, sir, please put 1 grain here, 2 grain here, 4, 8, 16, like that. You multiply, double it, and give me that much grain. And there are, how many blocks are there? 64. It looks very, very little. And king chastised him. You are a bhikmanga, you are a beggar. You don't know how to actually beg. I am telling you, I will give you everything. Right? This person was so stubborn, said, I only need this much. And king ordered his minister that please give him whatever he wants. He is simply a beggar. And he left. After hours, the minister came to the king and said, sir, our treasury is completely empty. What happened? No, we have not even gone to the 50% of his boxes and our treasury is empty. So now I will explain to you what happened actually. This is 2, this is 4, this is 6. That means this is 2 to the power 0, 2 to the power 1, 2 to the power 2. Like this is 2 to the power 63 number of grains. So 2 to the power 63 grains are actually 9.2 into 10 to the power 18. That many grains. I told my students, please compute what is the weight of this. So our students, they took because we grow our own grain, they took it and there is a weighing machine in physics laboratory, they put it. And they found 100 grains, approximately 1 gram. Right? So 1 metric ton is 1000 kilo. So 1 grain is 10 to the power minus 5 metric ton. Right? According to that calculation. So 2 to the power 63 grain is 92 billion metric ton. Can you imagine this? 92 billion. Now you see what's happening here. At the current state is there. In current state, in 51st box, where the total number of grains will be 2 to the power 50, that is 11 million metric ton. And Japan is producing that amount of grain, rice grain, okay? Then you go to the 52nd box, double up that obviously. So 11 million, that will be 22 million. And that is being produced by Philippines. You go to the next one, the 54th box, I have skipped 53rd, there is a reason. 54th because 22, 44 will become 88. So that is being produced approximately by Indonesia. Now I go to the next one, 55th, you get 176 million metric ton. And India produces only 155 metric ton. And you go to the next one, you require 352 million metric ton, and China, the highest producer of rice, is only producing 201 million metric ton. So where the grain will come? So when you explain the students, they really understand even 2 to the power, 10 to the power 18 is not available in the world. So when we speak about this, this is inconceivable. And finally, obviously, Krishna, the source of everything, has to be inconceivable. Okay, I thank you very much for your present hearing, and also thank Tapan Mr. for allowing me to speak more than...
We'll take one question at least, Prabhu. We'll have time. Balimadhan Prabhu here. Prabhu, can you speak loudly and I'll hear for you.
Quick question, maybe you can give a quick light answer. So, Gerald, the Edelman, the Nobel Prize winner, when he made this statement by getting that the shape and the form of the human being or any animal's creature is generally dependent on the CAM, the cell adhesion molecules group formula and all. But from consciousness perspective, we have seen Prabhupada's conversation with Tamal Krishna Maharaj, that a person was born with a mark here in the forehead because in the previous birth he was attacked by killed, so that imprint was there in the next birth. So how the consciousness is linked in the previously in this one in terms of the molecular adhesions which the Nobel Prize winner making it. Can you make a link between those?
Okay, so I'll give a very short answer. You see that we have two categories of memory. You have a memory of 120 trillion cells that is coming from your father, his father, his father, his father, his father. This is called genealogy. And then you have a karmic memory, that is your own journey, that is mental, subtle body coming. So this is a complex memory you are carrying. And that is why actually this would have been, I would have told about that in the subsequent thing. What is your nature? And Prabhupada explains dharma means your occupational duty. Our education system has failed miserably because we do not explain to you what is your nature. You are an intellectual being, you are an administrative class, you are a business class, or you are a service provider. We have no way, because of the science is so syntactic. So the adult man will talk nonsense because he is a scientist ingrained in syntactic science. And people slowly now throwing away the syntactic science. That requires a little more deliberation. What is the distinction between semantic science and syntactic science? In fact, this century, if Krishna wills, will bring in a semantic science. And that semantic science will tell us more about ourselves than the way the things are being projected to us in a very syntactic manner. Yeah.
Leela Purushottam Prabhu, thank you so very much. Now I know Leela Purushottam Prabhu's trick of being able to raise the funds for possibly the largest educational project within ISKCON. Right. So I wouldn't be surprised if Prabhu went and placed a chessboard in front of some rich people. Start with 1 paisa, that's all I need. Well, we really hope that the semantic science and this process of being able to identify nature comes into being so that our founder Acharya's vision can be fulfilled. Thank you so very much, Leela Purushottam Prabhu. Prabhu's come all the way in his busy schedule from IIT Kanpur to come and be with us. Please note that just because the question answer session is short, that does not mean that you don't have more facility or time to discuss with the educators. Every presenter here is around. They are Hare Krishna. So every presenter here, including Leela Purushottam Prabhu, is also going to be around for lunch and other occasions. Please take this opportunity to discuss with them what they're undertaking and also see if how we can help each other in our educational projects. Thank you so much. I would like to now request Narsingha Tirtha Prabhu and Chetan Prabhu to please tell us the process here onwards so that we can celebrate one of the happiest occasions of the day, which is honoring Krishna Prasadam.
Hare Krishna Prabhus and Matajis. So the process is going to be, we are going to hand over these coupons to you at this gate, and the Prasadam is organized at the ILS Prasadam, where ILS Prasadam was happening. So yeah, we'll all be honoring Prasadam there. So thank you so much.
I must mention that we do have an afternoon filled with very, very interesting topics. As soon as we reconvene at 4 o'clock, so we're going to start the talk at 4 o'clock. I would really appreciate if you can be here by 3:50, 3:55. And that is going to be a challenge because afternoon, prasadam, and then coming back here. But please do join us. As soon as we begin, we'll have His Grace Pranava Prabhu and Kamala Priya Mataji, his wife, who are actually going to present a very interesting topic about religion, various religion, and academics, and how academics is being used or is embedded in various religious movements. After that, we will hear from Her Grace Devaki Mataji, who's going to speak about cultural revolution or evolution, cultural revolution. Then we'll have His Holiness Yadunandan Maharaj speaking to us about topic East meets West, and then His Holiness Bhakti Rasayan Maharaj, and then the last session we'll have today will be from the Youth Ministry, His Grace Manohar Prabhu, who's going to talk to us about edification for a mission. How can we engage our youth in taking the mission of ISKCON forward? So thank you about that. Hare Krishna, thank you for your attendance this morning. Look forward to seeing you all again in the afternoon. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
So, while everyone else is taking lunch, can I go and have lunch as well? Or do you need me to? Why don't you join? Yeah. Oh no, because I already arranged lunch like every day for a month. So if I don't go there, the money's wasted. Please, I'll leave it to you.